about the different types of methods, so instance, static, and class methods. So I had two blogs that I referenced just to learn a bit more about this. So Real Python by Dan Bader. So and another older blog which is also useful by Julian. So this basically talks about how methods work in Python, which is really cool, and Stranger Times. You can call an instance method through a class and weird things. So you have static methods and how to define them, what they are, and when to use them. I wanted to just find out a few more information and how to use these decorators and methods. All right, and this one here has some examples of all the three types that I'm interested in. So looking at instance methods, which we know about already, are class methods and static methods. Again, I just wanted to know what they are, when to use them. So what I did basically was to copy this, and then I created a folder called method types, and in there a file called myclass.py. Then I just pasted the code in there. All right, so now I want to go ahead and call the instance method. Just check it out. So as we've done before, we are creating an object from my class, and then just going to call this method here, which is the instance method. So just put print in front, and as we've done this before, we know exactly what's going to print, and then it's also going to print self. Okay, so if I find where I am first, and then cd into the right folder, and the file I need is myclass.py. Okay, so when we run this, it basically prints out the string, and it also prints out self. Okay, so self is referring to the objects that we created, and that's the ID over there. And what we can also do is, create two objects from the same class. All right, and then let's go ahead and print both of them. So I'm expecting that this will print out exactly the same message, but self will be a different ID. And that's exactly what happened there. So we have different IDs there. So the self is referencing two different objects. Okay. All right. So now I wanted to figure out how to call our class method. Okay. So a class method, if I just run this, make sure nothing is there, clear it out. Okay. So a class method is called directly on the class. So we don't need to create an object first. So just go ahead and say my class and then call our class method, which is this one here. All right, so class method also, it also takes in like an argument itself. Again, it doesn't have to be CLS. You can call this whatever you want. It will still work. So this is, referencing the actual class object itself. So when we run this, you can see it prints out the message and it prints .myclass as the class. Okay, so there's always just one class from what I can see. We can't have multiple objects. So class method also has this weird thing where if I try and call this, it says missing one required argument. Okay, self, within self. So this is very strange. I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but we can see that failed. But class methods are called directly on class, but you can also call instance on class. Weird. Anyway, so now we check out our static method. So static method, again, we can call directly on class, but it does not have self. Okay, so when we run that, it prints out the message. Again, you can see there, there's no self argument added in there. All right, so like I was saying earlier, we can somehow call an instance method. All right, call an instance method on a class. So I'm going to simplify this, take off, so we'll just call in one object. And then if we change this so that we can basically say my class dot, and then rather than call, okay, we can call method. Okay, this is weird. So what method is an instance, and when we call this, it tells us missing one argument. But if you give it an instance, Python will figure out what you're trying to do, and it calls that instance method through the class. Okay, so this was an interesting thing. So it's something that I wasn't expecting, but it does exist. So it's something worth just reading through the documentations and just learning more about how that works and that kind of magic. All right, so over here, these are the three methods that we've had a look at. Just go through, and I did some of those, just test it out. I saw some interesting examples using pizza as the example there, and look at how to use class methods there to call the initializer, and when to use static methods. So here we have a static method, and because it doesn't reference self, it's kind of safe to use. So you can use it as a helper method in a way. So just to write extra code that is safer. All right, so definitely read through this like I did. It gives you more understanding about class methods and static methods and instance methods and when to use them. All right, but I have just a couple of these questions just to revise. So check this out, and that's it, guys, for this class, and I'll see you in the next lesson.